So just a couple of more points, and then we'll have a discussion. I really first want to again thank Kristen Beasley and Dr. Ryan, because I thought it set perfectly up what the whole forum was all about, and I just don't want to forget that whole process. I think, picking up on what Dan said, the time to act is now. Implement in the classroom, in the clinic, in the community. You saw that here. You saw people doing it. It's there. It can be done. I think this to RCT or not to RCT. Let's not go down this path again. I mean, we've been having these arguments forever. I think the answer to the question is yes, depending on what your question is and how you're going to go about doing it. So let's not shoot ourselves in the foot on this one, because obviously if you take some of the work that's been done on this observational data and you incrementally go after it in some way, that it improves that. It addresses some of the concerns that people have. So I don't want to fight amongst ourselves. From the standpoint of evidence, I want to really thank Dr. Elton, because it's enlightening to see evidence from the payer's perspective and how they're making decisions. I found that to be, we can't forget that. And I think it speaks to this idea of partnering with and using the data from payers. It might facilitate some of these policy changes that we might want to make. Dr. Chow, characterizing this benefit, taking into consideration of risks, that was what I took home. That was the tipping point from the 2007 guidelines to the most recent guidelines. And what I got from Dr. Herman was, I guess we just got to do it. This idea of, in our studies, these are things we could start thinking about tomorrow. In the studies we're proposing to do now, if we're going to borrow from savings, and we don't know what the savings are, it's going to be hard to make the argument. So it's really an important thing for us to do. And in terms of these emerging models, I think they are ready for prime time in terms of, and not just in single studies, but multiple studies across the board, to see how they work. I was really impressed with all of these. And from an educational standpoint, being a dean of a school that has 13 programs, all of which ought to have this content, I was afraid to look at that before I got here. I was afraid to look at that content in my own school before I got here, because I'm be careful what you look for. So and I don't think I'm alone. And it's nice to know there's models. I'd like to see us move away from simulation and get from the classroom to the environment. And I have an appreciation now for community versus medical environments, and the opportunities offered in community environments, given that I've spent most of my time in medical environments and trying to change practice and change behaviors, and that is a little bit more difficult. And so I think policy we heard, and it's the, again, the data needed, the threshold for change. We've talked about this. But I think one of the, what I've been hearing from people, maybe, and we're not playing up enough, is the role of patients, and getting them to step forward, and this from the standpoint of we're not going to take it anymore, and thinking about that. That's a powerful, that can be a very powerful message. So with that, those were my sort of endpoints. In addition with Dan, sorry we couldn't put these together, but I was just finishing these as I was going through. We had no chance to sit down and say, gee, maybe we should try to do this together as co-chairs, but it wasn't really possible to do that. So thanks.